of all the men that came across, he was charming. He was not interested in, how some men nowadays, your favorite physicians, like they're just outlandish with what they say. Like he would ask profound questions and things, and I'm like, okay, you're a little bit different. I'm interested. That began the nightmare whirlwind that I ended up in with him. I said, I didn't say that. He said, you just said that in the bedroom. I was like, no, I didn't. And I literally started crying and like I was shaking. And I said, Mom, y'all need to commit me because I feel like I'm slipping.
Hey guys, this is Hope Said It back with another Hope Said It Uncut video for you. And today I'm very excited for this conversation. I know I say that all the time, but I'm just getting good conversations lately. And today I am going to introduce you to a lady named Crystal. She was a self-proclaimed perfectionist and she dated a narcissist. And we're here to give you the red flags of dating a narcissist and ways to heal after you do it. I know a lot of people throw around the word narcissist, but this is the real deal. Like, this is a lot, and we're going to get into it right now. So welcome to the show, Crystal. Thank you so much for coming and agreeing to share your story.
Thank you for having me, Hope. I love being here.
Well, we'll get right into it because there's a lot to share. Now, you said you are a people pleaser, you are a perfectionist, you are an over supporter, and really those are great traits by itself, but for some reason it was horrible when it came to dating, especially a narcissist. So just explain your story about dating and how it came to that point.
So, yes, people pleasing, perfectionist, all of those things. I think from a child, that was something that I was, I guess, seeing my family and trying to make sure that I was always fitting in and everything like that. And then friends and things like that. It was part of my life, trying to be people pleasing. I guess it's some kind of a psychological thing, they say. I don't know. But with that, I used to see the love of my parents, my grandparents, and these are relationships that my grandparents, before they passed away, before my grandfather passed away, they were married for 59 years and in love. My parents, I am 42. They will be married this year for 45 years, still in love. So all I wanted to do, I guess that was my vision of a success of a woman is finding a wonderful husband, getting married, and being that wonderful wife. Now, I was going to be the Claire Huxtable of it, but that was what I wanted. And having that kind of trait and meeting a narcissist, not a good combination because the narcissist is looking for somebody to feed their narcissism. And that was definitely him. In fact, my nickname for him is the Black Tinder Swindler. That was my nickname for him.
Did you meet on Tinder?
I met him on an old website called Tagged. Tagged was like, it was a mix of Facebook and LinkedIn all together for Black people, basically. And so we were on this, we met, like we were in passing, and he stopped by my page and he was just very charming, truly a gentleman. Of all the men that came across, he was charming. He was not interested in, how some men nowadays, your favorite physicians, like they're just outlandish with what they say. His thing was like, if you could speak to anybody dead or alive, who would it be and why? Like he would ask profound questions and things. And I'm like, okay, you're a little bit different. I'm interested. And that began the nightmare whirlwind that I ended up in with him.
By the way, she has a YouTube channel called Crystal Beyond Labels, so check that out as well. And this is where she really unpacks that story. But she says basically from 18 to 41, she was like looking for a husband, and that's what kind of made her fall into this situation because she was, her words, kind of desperate for a husband. She was a single mother of two, and she thought she was missing out on something. So really, this is a message of, hey, just because it didn't happen the way you wanted to, don't settle for less. And we'll continue on. So in that mindset, this is where we're entering the story of how you met the Black Tinder Swindler. Go ahead.
Yes, in that mindset, because being a single mom, let me clarify, a single mom in a Christian, island family. So that combination is, why are you not married yet? Are you supposed to be having children out of wedlock? Like that was the conversation. And so I'm like, I gotta find a husband, I gotta find a father for my kids. And he was amazing initially. You were just like, whoa, now given we were long distance. And I always say to women, I love long distance relationships because you get time to chit chat and get to know each other, but they can wear the mask as long as they want to because they're long distance. And whenever you get together, they can be as sweet as whatever, but it's not until you are face to face dealing with each other on a daily basis, then you get the real. And so we were long distance for at least the first, I knew him for, I would say, almost 12 years. And
Oh
we
my
did,
goodness.
yeah, we did long distance the first year. Then he ghosted me. And I had no idea where he went, but he would ghost me and then reappear.
So he wouldn't
So
break up with you, he would just disappear.
he would just disappear. And his favorite line is, "You have to understand, I am a VP of a company, and the first quarter and the end of the quarter, end of the year, those quarters, I'm super busy, so I may not be in touch with you." And I was like, this is during Michelle Obama and Barack. I was like, but Barack still have time to take his wife out. I'm confused.
Okay.
Why are you so busy?
How long are these ghosting spans?
So the first time it was like a month, and I was like, okay. Then I guess he thought, you know how they say you give somebody an inch, they'll take a mile or whatever. Yeah. So the month. Then it became 6 months. Then it became a year.
So
And
what are
in
you doing during this span? Like 1 month, okay, I can kind of get it. In the 1 year, are you thinking you're still with him? Are you, like how is that going on with you?
so that's the other part of me that used to get on my nerves, my loyalty.
Ah.
Because I'd be like, well, I haven't broken up with him and he hasn't broken up with me, so I should still wait for him. And also, I during the time he told me, I want you to be in the same financial platform as me. So he asked me to invest some money. So I took my savings and gave him my savings. And then
And
he
I don't,
disappeared.
if you don't want to share the amount, that's fine. But how much are we ballpark talking?
So that was in my early 20s, about $4,000.
Oh, so that was yeah, that's in college, that's your whole life savings for real. So,
Yes, exactly,
so
exactly.
you gave him 4,000. He said he'll invest it for you. Oh my.
Mhm. And then he disappears. And so
Mm.
I'm like, well, maybe he's just busy. And I'm like, I've gone from calling him to writing him emails, like just, hey, say something. And then all of my friends is like, okay, Crystal, like, stop. And I was like, you know what? You're right. And I cut it. And I ended up going back on the dating side again. And I met somebody else and started spending time with him. While spending time with him, Mr. Black Tinder Swindler reappeared. And he's like, well, we're still together. I was like, we are? And I was like, okay, uh, you disappeared for almost a year and a half and we're still together? He was like, yeah, we're still together. I was like, no, we're not. So I asked him about the investment. He was like, oh, I'll send it to you. No, he didn't. He didn't. And then he disappears again. This time he disappears for 3 years.
There's no way. Okay, pause. Let's pause. Okay, this is a 12-year relationship. So we're about a quarter of the way in right now
Mm-hmm.
with this one, like halfway, a quarter of the way into the relationship. So what is keeping you going? You're not a stupid girl. So
Right.
what is keeping you on ice as he's doing whatever he wants to do? Obviously.
I think it was the promise of forever. On paper, and I always tell women and men nowadays when I'm talking about relationships, please stop looking at what looks good on paper. Because on paper, he looked amazing. Never been married, has no children, financially stable. very handsome, um, very charismatic, charming. My grandmother was in love with him. Like and when the family members start liking him, you're just like, okay, well, maybe he's a good guy. At the time he claimed he was a Christian man. I was like, okay, I got a man of God. Like it was all, I'll pray with you before you start your day, like those type of things. Okay, I could give up now, but maybe I should see it all the way through. That I think that was my process because I kept saying, well, we're already invested. And when I ended it and when I told him, no, we're not together if you disappear like that, I started seeing someone else. But he was still
Okay.
reaching out during that time. And so, like I said, he disappeared for 3 years. And within those 3 years, I decided, don't laugh at me, Hope. I'm one of those girls that love HGTV. I watch House Hunters. And on House Hunters, they had an episode. They're always talking about how people just pick up and move. So I decided to pick up and leave South Florida and move to Atlanta, not knowing anybody. I just wanted to do that. Just like those people.
Just, just
That's
cause,
what.
like no job, no nothing. You say, you know what, Atlanta.
Well, my job, when I told them I want to move, they said, oh, we'll move you there because you're such a good employee. We will
Oh,
move
that's
you there. We
awesome.
have offices there. And I was like,
It's
great.
looking like God's opening doors.
Right?
Right, right, right.
And then, as my grandma would say, whenever the devil sees you happy, he always finds a way to come in and bother you again. And so, out of nowhere, he calls me. And that's another thing I have a problem with. I forgive easily. So I forgave him, get on the phone. He's like, how's everything? Great. Okay. So what are you up to? I said, oh, I'm getting ready to move to Atlanta. Really? Now, mind you, at the time he was living in New York when we were doing the long distance, New York to Florida. And so when I said, oh, I'm moving to Atlanta, he was like, really? I live in Atlanta. He was like, I live here. I said, why would I know that? We don't talk to each other. Why would I know that? And so he said to me, we never gave this relationship a proper chance. I was like, we? I was like, you. He was like, why don't you move up here? He said, I have a six bedroom, 5 bath house and a 3 bedroom, 2 bath guest house on the property. I want you to move up here. I was like, well, my sister's moving up here with me. So no. He was like, your sister can stay in the guest house. I was like, I'm not going to live with you. I don't even know you.
Yeah.
And so I spoke to my mom and my grandmother and them. They're like, just stay there and get the lay of the land of Atlanta in the guest house, get the lay of the land, and then you could figure out what you want to do. I said, okay. But his thing was like, no, bring the kids. I was leaving my kids in Florida, letting them finish school, and then bring them up. He was like, no, bring the kids, bring the kids. I was like, no, I'm not bringing the kids. And he wanted me to bring the kids. Good thing I did not bring the kids because D-Day, when it was time for me to move, he decided, I say, he faked a coma because literally the week that I was supposed to come to Atlanta, I have everything packed. My job is waiting for me. My friend came up from the Bahamas to help me move. My mom is helping me move everything. And we're pack up the car. We're ready to go. I get a phone call from a New York hospital and I don't answer it. I'm like, who's calling me from a New York hospital? Then I was like, oh, it might be my aunt or my grandma. Let me answer it. Answer the phone, and there's a woman on the other line, and she says, hey, are you Crystal? I said, yes. Oh, let's just say his name is Hector. That's the name I use. Hector is in the hospital. He had a terrible bike accident and he's in a coma. And I was like, what? All the blood drained from my body. I almost passed out. And I was like, okay. So I still make my way to Atlanta. And I go to the house because he told me he left the key before he went on his trip. He told me he left the key with the neighbor for me to get in the house when I get there. I go to the house, ring the doorbell. A lovely Caucasian woman answers the door. And I said, hi, I'm Hector's friend. She's like, who? I was like,
What?
I said, yeah, he said he left the key with you for, she's like, for what?
Oh
I was like,
my God.
isn't this I said, this is his house. She's like, absolutely not. This has been my house for 25 years. I don't even know who you're talking about. Oh my gosh, Hope. I think I broke down into so
Of
many
course.
pieces.
Oh my God.
Tears is running out my eyes. My friend is trying to console me. And I was baffled, to say the least. But if another friend had told me about ProMove here in Atlanta, so I immediately ran over to ProMove. Can you please help me find an apartment? And they helped me find an apartment within that week. I was able to get a place to live, and I call that God's grace. That was God's grace right there. He got me a place.
Okay, so after all of that, he's in the hospital.
Hmm.
He apparently is telling you this house is his when it's not. How do you guys even reconnect after that? You talk to him, you call him, what happened?
In 2017, the end of 2017, I had just gotten out. Well, earlier that year, I had just gotten rid of a pathological liar, right? So I just gotten rid of a pathological liar. I remember I was praying and I was like, God, listen, I'm not going to rush ahead of you no more. Whoever you have for me, let him come. And then he calls,
The devil, not God.
right? Right? And so he asked me, he's like, are you married? Did you have any more kids? I was like, no, I'm not married. No, I didn't have any more kids. He was like, listen, I'm in Miami, but I want to come and he was like, I'm down here for a work retreat, but I'll be back up there and I want to see you. And I was like, I wanted to see him, Hope, because at this point, closure. I wanted to know, why'd you lie to me?
Yeah,
No,
okay.
first I wanted to know, where's my money? That was the first thing. Where's my money? Why'd you lie to me? What did I ever do to you to deserve this type of treatment? That's really what I wanted to know. So
So he's popping up like he didn't just fake his whole coma and that he lives in he just came like, oh, zap, you
yeah.
don't remember anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so how did you approach that subject with him?
So he decided we were going to do something called shop, which I explained in my on my video. Shop is basically where you and this person get together and start talking about just different things, just basically spilling everything, talk shop, let everything out. So I asked him, okay, I need some explanations. Like, where's the money? He was like, well, I invested and I reinvested and I reinvested, and I bought a house for us. I was like, us? We weren't even together. How is it us?
So
But
from you showing up at the house that wasn't his to him coming back, how many years was that? How much time was that?
5 years.
Oh my
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay. But to be clear, it's not like you're just waiting on him only. You're dating on and off other people,
Yes.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
he
Mm-hmm.
just keeps on swerving right back into your life. Okay.
All
So
the
five
time.
years
Yeah.
later, you have the shop and y'all talk investment. What did he say about your 4,000?
He said, so it turned out, he said, my investments did so well. I had enough to put your money and my money together and buy us a house. I was like, how do you buy us a house and we're not together? I was like, I'm a little bit confused. He was like, because I trusted the Lord. These are the words he used. I trusted the Lord that he would bring us back together. I was like,
Oh,
he was like, where was your faith? And I said, my faith?
wow.
I said, but you were in a coma the last time I heard. And every time I try to reach out to your family, no one's answering. No one's telling me anything. So all I can assume is that you died. That's the only thing I can assume because nobody called me. It's been 5 years. What am I supposed to do? And so he ended up saying to me, he showed me some scars. He said, these are the scars from my accident. Now, Hope, these scars could have come from anywhere. Some of them look like accidents, but accident from when is the question. So I don't know. As we were talking, and he's telling me, look, I really love you, and I really want us to see who we are today because we've known each other for all these years. I want to know who we are today, and I want us to get a chance to build a relationship. He said, because I ultimately want to get married. I said,
Those are the words you wanted to hear.
exactly. I was like, well, I said, you know what? I'll give it a chance.
Okay.
And that was the worst thing I could have done in that moment. I think the one lesson I learned is that God will be telling you something, and your desire for whatever you want is so intense that you will bypass God and convince yourself, nope, that's the devil talking to me, when that's God the entire time telling
Listen,
you,
you can
put it
you can
down.
tell yourself anything. That's why it's so
Mm-hmm,
important to have quiet time and know God's voice, because
mm-hmm,
your will can outshine God's if that's what you
mm-hmm,
want so much. You know, you can be like, oh,
mm-hmm.
well, I think this, and yeah, the Lord is telling me this. It ain't the Lord. It's just what you want to do.
I'm gonna give you the funny. I prayed and I said, Lord, if he is for me, I said, I know that I confuse myself because I always think it's you. Let my mama and my grandma take to him like he's part of the family. And won't you believe that my mama and my grandma took to him like he was family?
Oh, that's hard. What do you do when that happens? Obviously, you think it's God then.
Yeah. But the other side was my sister was like, absolutely not. My sister was like, no. And she just kept saying, I don't know, he's not for you. So all this time, he's being of one of the signs that I put on my channel, love bombing. He is love bombing the mess out of me. So love bombing is when they make you the center of their universe. They are like, you feel like you're walking, forget cloud nine, you're on like cloud 100. That's how
So
he
how
has
would
you
that be
feeling.
a bad thing? Because for people listening to this, they could be like, I want all the love bombs. So what is the difference between like romance and this is a bad red flag or love bomb?
Because love romance, you are able to see everything else around you. Love bombing, they almost smother you with it so much that you can't see anything. You're not seeing anything. Nothing is making sense. So that's what it felt like. It was like you have no other options. It's like, okay, this is where I belong, right here. This is it. No more. And when you feel like it's moving too fast, they're trying, part of love bombing, they will try and convince you that no, it's not moving fast. This is God ordained. I love you.
And then after love bombing, I know one of the other things you mentioned that happens in a narcissistic relationship is breadcrumbing.
Mm-hmm.
Explain what breadcrumbing is.
Breadcrumbing is where they leave you like they're just dropping little crumbs to keep you right in their mix, even if they're not moving backwards or forwards. So you have no idea what's going on. Because after you finish love bombing, now that you've let your guard down and quote unquote given over your power, now you're like, okay, well, why do you keep moving the goalposts of where we're supposed to be going? You keep moving it.
Did you have love bombing in the beginning, and then the breadcrumbing? Was that the span of ghosting that you experienced?
No, I think love bombing was in the beginning. Breadcrumbing happened with the ghosting, and then when he came back again, when we decided to have it in a relationship this time around, it was the love bombing again because he wanted me to forget everything that happened in the past. And then remember he said I want us to get married. So then the breadcrumbing started where it's like, well, you know what? I love you, but I feel like you need to be here for us to do that. Or I feel like you're not doing this. And that's why we're not where we're
So
supposed to
you're
be.
dangling a carrot. You're like, I know you want married so much, but you got to go here, but you got to do this. Oh, so you're
Yes.
never meeting the goalpost.
Never, never, ever.
After that relationship, or well, during that relationship, after the breadcrumbing, I know you mentioned devaluing. How did devaluing happen? After so many love bombs, how do you now devalue?
So while I'm in the breadcrumbing stage, the devaluing started happening where, like, I'm there getting ready, I'm putting myself together, trying to look beautiful for my significant other, right? And he would look at me and be like, "What are you wearing? Why why are you wearing that? Doesn't even look good on you." And he would He would not even hold it. He would just throw it at me. Or, you'd be further along in life if you were a little bit smarter, or like those type of things. And because people always talk about abuse and you don't realize it, but that was a level of abuse because he's sitting there telling me, I'm just telling you these things because I'm trying to get you to the next level. And I believe and I know you can do it. You are a diamond that's covered in soot, and I'm trying to clean you off and polish you up. So I'm sitting here. I hope one of these days, I promise I'll read my journals on my channel. But I legit have in my journal, I am such a horrible daughter. I'm a horrible sister.
So
I
you
am
believe the words that he
I
was saying.
believed it. Yes. I was like, I'm a terrible mother. I didn't set my kids up right. Like I was beating myself up.
Was this able to happen because you were, he kind of separated you from family? Because that's a traditional trait of abuse. Did he separate you from your loved ones for you to kind of isolate yourself?
He didn't separate me from my mom, sister, grandmother, because, well, more my mom and my grandmother, because they were right in the mix with me. But my sister, he tried to put a wedge between my sister and I. Whenever I'd say, hey, let's go, my friends are coming into town, let's go hang out with my friends. No, I'm here to focus and learn more about you. You shouldn't be worried about your friends. They already have a marriage and happy. You need to stay here focused. And so I would essentially be lying to my friends saying, well, he had to work late, so we can't go out tonight, and so on and so forth. So I feel like he knew if I got around my friends, and with my friends and my sister combination, there would have been an end to that relationship.
Absolutely. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
and you're loyal, so you're going to try to protect him. So, yes,
Mm-hmm.
that makes
Yep.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have the love bombing, the breadcrumbing, devaluing. What other things did you kind of see? And when did you notice, like, this is it. I got to go.
So after devaluing came gaslighting. And I hear people, like you were in your intro, because I say people use narcissists so easily now if they don't like something. They use gaslighting if they don't like something. But when you're in the midst of it, you realize, oh my gosh. So like there were times we're having discussions, we're having disagreements, and he's like, well, you said this. I was like, I never said that. He's like, yes, you did. I was like, I never said that. And so I started recording. I have over 100 recordings of our
You
conversations.
did not record. It was so
Mhm.
bad that you had to start recording yourself to prove it. And when you played it back to him and it was false, what did he do?
Oh no, he never let me play it, and he would ignore it when I would play it again. Mind you, he was the one who said, I wish we could record so you could hear yourself. So when I started recording, the first time I recorded him, he knew I was recording him. So he was perfect. He put on his mask. So after the recording, I was like, is it me? Is it me? Am I the drama? Like it's this. But then when I started recording him without him knowing, and he let his true self out, and I would replay it, I was like, and the only reason I started recording Hope was one day I was in the kitchen. Well, him and I were in the bedroom having a conversation. My mom and grandmother and my sister and my kids were all at the house. And when we came out the room, I said something. He was like, well, since you don't want to do that, then I said, I didn't say that. He said, you just said that in the bedroom. I was like, no, I didn't. And Hope, I literally started crying and like I was shaking. And I said, Mom, y'all need to commit me because I feel like I'm slipping. I feel like something's going on. I was like, and I know I'm a smart person, but I feel crazy now. And so that's why I started recording because I was like, am I crazy?
But wouldn't you think? There comes a point where you're like, nah, this ain't even normal. Did you even think? I know you were love bombed and all that stuff, but recording conversations, didn't you think like this is the beginning of the end?
Oh, that was truly the beginning of the end. And I think things started clicking in my head that something was wrong when one night, like one time, him and his friends were going out, And he was like, we were supposed to have a date. He was like, well, my friends want to hang out. And I said, okay, well, have fun. Go do what you do. When my friend wanted to hang out, he basically did not want me to go. So he decided to sit in my house and say, well, I'm going to just hang out here. Mom and grandma are here. I'll just hang out with here. And so my mom and grandma was like, well, Chris, don't go out. He's here. I said, I made plans with my friend. I'm not going to stand up my friend. I'm not doing that. When I went out, he literally tried to plan a whole vacation with my mom, sister, grandmother, kids, and say I was not going. Like I was supposed to be punished.
Stop it.
And so he ended up taking that back, and then we all went on a trip. And that was like a trip that was supposed to, like, my grandma wasn't feeling well, but we didn't know why. So basically, when it came down to that time, I was telling you, when we found out that she had stage 4 cancer. And it was like abrupt. Nobody even knew she was sick, but it was abrupt. And so he was back in love bomb stage, trying to help me and be by my side and all of that, because I was very, very close to my grandmother. And so, but that ugly monster would start rearing its ugly head. So during that time, we had all the family come down to the house where we were to see my grandmother. And he was like, why don't you wheel her down to the pool, let her sit there and everybody could say hi to her. I was like, she's supposed to be in her bed. Like, she's transitioning. What do you mean? Well, why do we have to have people in the house? I said, they're coming to see my. So you saw the selfish, you saw all of that. And as time, so we were winding down, and then I remember it was New Year's. It was 2020, it was going into 2021 New Year's. And usually for my family, we do to include the kids, we have sparkling cider, and we'd say what we're thankful for this year and what we're looking forward to this year. And so, of course, we all went through 2020. We know what that was like. So in 2021, I'm sitting down here saying, I just want to thank God that he kept us from getting sick. I want to thank God that he kept me, because I lost my job during that time. My sister lost her job, but we financially were able to keep everything going. I was like, and that's by the grace of God. He literally left the house, then called me the next day and said, I'm so disgusted with you. I was like, why? He said, you're thanking God. You're supposed to be thanking me. I was like, for what?
Sir, that's right.
I was like, for what? Why am I thanking you? He was like, because I was by your side. I said, okay, but you didn't do anything. You didn't financially do anything for me. You didn't take on any burdens for me. Everything, I went through it with God. That was me and God talking, and God taking care of me.
So hopefully this was the last straw, correct?
That was the last straw. Well, that was the beginning of the last straw. That was the middle of the last.
How many straws were there?
Let me say the middle of the last straw. That's when it was the middle of the last straw.
Okay.
Because the reason why it took so long was because he kept telling me he is financially at a place where he needs write-offs, right? And he would basically say, put the townhome in your name, put this in your name, put that in your name. I'll pay the bills, but it helps me get a write-off when it comes to tax time. I said, okay, I got you. We're together, so I'll help you out. So that is why the straw was long, because I was waiting for the lease to end and everything so it was out of my name. But with that, he had a vehicle in my name, and he took the vehicle and he sold it to somebody. Now, this vehicle was a lemon times 10. It was janky to the 10th power. And he sold it to the person for $5,000, to a woman, a female. And only for me to learn that he basically tricked her into thinking they were in a relationship so that she could buy the vehicle for $5,000. And the minute she bought the vehicle, he blocked her.
Oh, he's a scammer and a narcissist and a cheat, is what you're saying?
Very much so. And I only found out because the girl went looking for me on social media because my name was on the title. And then she contacts me. I said, well, that's not my vehicle. That was his vehicle. And so she basically tells me that they were in a relationship for the last 8 months. And the minute she bought the vehicle, he stopped talking to her. And she sends me text messages and videos of them together. And I'm just like, oh, okay, that's cool. And
That was
so
it for you.
that was it. And there's this funny meme that my sister showed me. It says when you're just trying to get married, but you come out with a PhD in narcissism because
Oh, that you did, for sure.
that's literally what happened. But I think what broke him was that a narcissist wants to be the one to basically throw you away. But in this instance, I ended it, and he kept saying, "No, we're still together." I was like, "No, we're not." And it had time had passed, and I was hanging out with a friend of mine here who, when he called me one day while I was going through all of this, and he said, "Come meet me for dinner." He's like one of my best male friends, and I met him for dinner, and he said, "You know who you are? You are a queen. I don't even understand why you're sitting here taking this. I know you." He said, "You are a very intelligent, powerful woman." He said, "The woman that I've known all these years would not sit here and take that." And it was like, that just did that snap. And I was like, "You're absolutely right."
You lost yourself. You found it now. You gotta get
Exactly.
back
So
home.
I ended up ending it with him. And he finally, like, one day he saw me with my friend, but he didn't know who he was. And when he saw him, it was like, oh, she really is done. And so it was done. We were done.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so when you guys decided to make it work, when you said, okay, bygones be bygones, and that final stretch of dating again, how long was that? I know it was 12 years total, but that last stretch where you finally broke it off, how long was that?
It was from 2017 till 2021.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so like you said, like your friend said too, you're a smart girl. How did this last so long?
So I had to come to the realization that being single is not bad because you need to know who you are. And so I have a cousin who, when I was younger, beautiful, she's a beautiful woman, and she's not married. And so it was always like within the family, oh, you don't want to be like her if you never get married. And so it used to, I don't want to be that. I have to get married. And now I have children. She didn't have children. I have children. Now I have the baggage of children and I'm not married. So my brain was like, okay, I got to get married. But once I got into it with him, he broke me so bad, Hope. I did not think any man would even find me attractive again. He used to make sure I eat until I gained my most weight with him because I was probably, I would say in total, I gained 50 pounds dating him because because I'm an emotional eater and I was frustrated and he would feed me galore. Like he would just and I was just like, what are you trying to do to me?
So looking
So
back, do you think that was his plan? Like, I gotta get her big. Like,
yeah, I do. I do. And so it took so long because I was so broken. I was very, very broken. I didn't think I was smart anymore. Like I, I always say I stopped taking pictures, and I know people are like, what does taking pictures have to do with anything? I love taking pictures for memories, just pictures of my family and friends and things like that. I wouldn't want to take pictures like I'll take pictures of everybody else. They're like, come on, join the picture. I'm like, no, 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 I'm just taking y'all because I didn't want anybody to see me. I became a shell of myself as vibrant and extra as I am, I became so introverted, so quiet, so like I lost my voice. So I think I did not have the strength to end it until I sat there with my friend and he looked at me. He said, "This is not you. Who are you?"
I'm glad you got snapped awake, by the way. And yes, you are beautiful, and yes, you are vibrant. So obviously, you're back to square one at least. Better than
Mm-hmm.
square one, hopefully. how do other people get there? Like if they were in a bad relationship, whether it was this bad or not, if you were in a place where someone broke you down, what was your path to healing?
My path to healing started with repenting to God for running ahead of him and thinking I could do it on my own. So I had to do that. I had to forgive. Even though he's a narcissist and I went through a lot, I had to forgive because there was a lot of things that he did that broke me, that caused issues in my family, the whole 9 yards. But I had to forgive him because I couldn't move forward if I didn't forgive him. Then I had to have a moment and say, you know what? You are the common denominator right now. All the bad relationships you've been in, you're the common denominator. Why are you the common denominator? And it's you being truthful to yourself and realizing the things that you did and why you're doing it and being honest with yourself and saying, I, like our good friends Gil and Renee say, I am more than enough. And hearing my kids say to me, Mom, you have been an amazing mom. Like, so all the things that were like insecurities and things that were dropped on top of me, it was coming to realization, no, there's nothing wrong with you. You're a wonderful woman. And God, when it is your time, it will be your time. Right now, live in your singleness, be full in your singleness, know who I am. And I promise you, hope I am enjoying getting to know Crystal.
You look like you're having a blast. So yes, it is
I am
working.
enjoying Crystal. I told a lady the other day, I said, I am in love with Crystal. Like, she's truly amazing. So it was having that and starting to journal. I was like, you know what? I'm grateful for all of these different things. So why am I complaining about being single? Or no, I am free to enjoy my life. So do that. And that's how I started moving into the space of healing. Now, given I did watch, there's a doctor, I forgot his name. I may message you his name, but there's a doctor on Instagram. He's a therapist, and he is like the guru of narcissism. And he tells you about these are the signs and these are the things that you need to do to heal yourself. And he even said it's not you. And that was the one thing I had to realize. His actions had nothing to do with who I was as a person. That was his actions. And they even point out a lot of times narcissists are broken people and they need someone to lash out on. And they need someone to feed their ego because they have no ego. They're insecure about a whole bunch of stuff. And I was like, now to sit back and marinate and all that, when I look at it, he had to keep saying, I am the definition of a man. He used to walk around talking about, I'm a definition of a man and I'm a real man. I feel like he had to say that because he was trying to convince himself.
For sure, insecure.
So those are the things I had to do.
Okay, so for someone who could be watching and saying, am I with a narcissist? What are some signs that you can now in hindsight see? Like, okay, if you did this, this, and that, that's probably not a good sign.
So if they're in the initial stages of their relationship, they need to, the love bombing, when someone is already trying to make you their universe, and when you're trying to take your time and get to know them, and they're not telling you, like with him, he was never giving me all of him. He gave me just the surface, and I never really clicked. Wait, he's not delving into, this is who I am, this is where I'm from, these are he gave me the bare minimum. So they're giving you bare minimum information, but they want to know everything about you. So I would tell him some of my insecurities. And when it came to devaluing, he used those same things to tear me down. So look at the love bombing. Look at when they're giving you that breadcrumbing where they're sitting there, just the goalpost just keeps moving every time, every time. You got to look for that. Now, if they're in the midst of the relationship, I would look at, they tend to have a high level of where they're very concerned about the materialistic things, clothes, money, their status. Like, that is what defines them. They're not, if you ask them who they are, they're going to tell you their job title. They're going to tell you how much money they have. They're going to tell you how many, like, I remember he used to say, I found out of all the 3 million women that were on this website, I found you the most interesting, so you should feel special. Like,
Thank
because exactly, that was what he would say. Definitely, they like to charm. You have to listen to, like, he would tell me one thing and then try to make me look bad to my parents. So he would say, like, one night I took him to a place for dinner, and he was like, I don't, he comes back. He's like, oh, babe, that was a beautiful place. It was so gorgeous. The food was amazing, blah, blah, blah. Then he goes to my mother, my grandmother, and says, do you know she took me to a club? But she knows I don't do clubs. I feel offended that she would take me to that place. And so my grandma, my mother was like, why would you take him to a club? I said, I've never taken him to a club. What are you talking about? And they said the name of the place. And my sister was like, that's not a club. They're trying to basically confuse relationships in the family, trying to put a wedge in the family, trying to put a wedge in your friendships. They always feel like they have to be right. So if you're with someone that always feels like they have to be right, and in the process also be tearing you down in the same space, so you say a word, like you say something like inconspicuous. That is not a word. Now give it. I know it's a word. Hope I know you know that's a word, but they think
Yeah.
they know everything. So they were like, that's not a real word. I remember even simple math. I would say, oh, that's like $70. He was like, no, it's not. I am the financial wizard. And realistically, it was $70. But he always thinks he was right.
It's important to know, like I want people to know it's packaged good though. It sounds like trash. Like once you open
Mm-hmm,
it, it's trash. But like you said, handsome, charming, good job.
mm-hmm.
So it packaged well and really it's all about the web of charm as well.
It
So it's
is.
not Joe Schmo who's mixing up stories and everything like that, except for the whole coma thing, but that's a different thing. It's an educated man who knows how
Mm-hmm.
to manipulate people based off of his charm and charisma.
Hey,
But I'm glad at least that you got to heal. What are your plans? Are you wanting to get married still? Are you cool with singleness? How are you doing?
so I just wanted to say one thing that you were saying right before that, and then I'll answer that.
For
It's
sure.
so interesting because I know some people that was listening to my story on my channel. They were like, "Oh, you're gullible," and I had to say no, because it wasn't just me. Within that relationship, I watched him do the same thing to businessmen that would give him their money. He charmed them out of their money, and then there was no business. They had no business. So he didn't just do it. It wasn't like, oh, she was just desperate. No, they were very smart businessmen that got caught up in him. So definitely exactly what you said. Knowledgeable, got their stuff together, and they can really throw you off. Now for me, I am enjoying my singleness. I wholeheartedly, like my mom always says, trust the Lord has somebody special for you. And I trust the Lord has somebody special for me. And when it is time, he will present him to me. But in the meantime, Crystal is going to be enjoying her life. I I created my channel Crystal Beyond Labels because all the things that I didn't do because I was focused on raising my kids or trying to find this husband, I'm now venturing and doing all kinds of stuff. Like, as you know, I just went to the Mediterranean, which is something that I withheld myself from doing for so many years. And I'm just breaking all those things off and just enjoying my life now the way I should have been enjoying it since I was in my 20s.
Well, that is a great message. I thank you so much for sharing your testimony. I know I had a previous video about, what happens when life didn't go the way you wanted to, or, you wanted this for your life and, basically you're a good girl and you think things didn't pan out how it should have. So I'm glad you got to kind of extend that story more, got to share about how it is dating someone who is basically crazy and how you got to heal. And that's the most important part, how you healed from it. And now how you're doing amazing things and just walking in your purpose now. So thank you so much for sharing your story. Do you have any last words you want to share?
I would say if anybody's in a broken relationship, if they're tied up in an abusive relationship, or if they think that it's too late, just remember as long as you're not in the grave, you still have time to turn everything back around. That is the beauty of time. So you can start I am about to be 43 in a week, and I'm starting life over on my terms with God. Me and God, 2023 is all about me and God. And that's what I'm doing. You guys can do the same. Get out those bad relationships and start living your life.
Awesome. Thank you so much and happy early birthday.
Thank you.
And, guys, this is Hope Said It. We do marriage, motherhood, hair, and life. You can follow me at Hope Said It on all social media platforms. Go to hopesaidit.com for the blog post. And also remember to follow Crystal Beyond Labels because she shares her stories way more in depth than we could in this video. But I thank you so much for joining, Crystal. And guys, have a great night. Bye.